It looks like we are live on Periscope. What's up, Twitter? Twitch is incoming. YouTube is slow as usual. Okay, YouTube. Here comes YouTube. I think we're looking good. Hey, look, awesome. We got a stack of people in the chat already. What's up, J-Mac, Recon? Right. What's up, Mitch? I'm going to talk to you in the chat, even though you're sitting here. Welcome back to another episode of the Crypto Campfire podcast, guys. This is another live one. Today we've got Citizen Hush on, so this should be a pretty exciting, invigorating, and intense conversation at times. I'm sure we're going to have a good time. I'll tell you that much. Awesome. You can't tell by my video here. I'm currently hiding from the cops in a back alley. There's no lighting here. There's fire in the background. Yeah, it looks kind of like Citizen Hush's screen in his background. It's kind of a disaster. But hopefully the podcast doesn't look as good as my audio or my video does. So welcome to the show, man. What's going on? How's your day going?
Just chilling, just trying to get through the year, man.
Yeah, aren't we all right?
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, totally. This is going to be a fun one for sure. We're stoked about it. So, let's start off with something a little bit off the wall here. If you could replace your left ear, Mitch, what type of object we're replacing the ears with today?
Ears, okay.
I know the body part's an old one, but it's a good one. It's a good one. We're going to go through it.
So we're going to do ears? Is that what you're saying?
Let's do ears. Okay. Left ear, just the left ear. And then maybe
so if you could replace your left ear with any aeronautic object, what would it be?
Now we're thinking. That gets deep. That's quite specific. I like it.
Aeronautic object. I'm supposed to answer this, not the professor. Yes. Okay. Aeronautic object. I don't know. Originally I was just going to default to AK-47, but now you threw me a curve. Now you threw me a curveball. Aeronautical object, some sort of tracking beacon where I can find my keys in my phone. Well, actually, I've got to find my iPhone now, so I don't need that too much. But some sort of tracking beacon.
All right.
Nice.
I would go with an altimeter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know how high I am.
I see where you're going.
I only need it when you and I hang out, so
What are you talking about? I don't have any
J-Mac,
right? Oh yeah,
J-Mac's my other buddy.
J-Mac's a professional. He says, "What the hell?" That's what you get for saying.
Definitely need an altimeter there.
Mosty could have used an altimeter in Westwood. I can tell you that.
Oh my God, that thing was off the charts. Oh, poor Mosty. So where did the name Alamo Trap House come from?
Well, are y'all from Texas by chance, or spent any time in Texas?
I was stationed in Fort Hood. And my parents live in Frisco.
Okay,
so I'm pretty familiar with.
Gotcha. Are you familiar with the movie theater Alamo Draft House?
No.
They've got them around the country now, but yeah, it's just basically me jacking their name and making it cooler.
Right?
Yeah, that's the best way to do it, right? That's still somebody's name.
It's also a nod to the communist subreddit, the El Chapo Trap House. So trying to just basically steal that and make it more liberty friendly.
Nice, love it.
That's awesome. All right, so what about Bitcoin? Bitcoin maximalism. What do you think about that? Let's touch on that a little bit.
So I got into crypto actually in 400 BCE. But no, I'm just joking.
Yeah, but I invented Bitcoin before there was electricity.
Isn't that the meme on crypto Twitter now? Everyone flexing nuts on like how early they got into Bitcoin.
I should go update my Twitter profile. What was I thinking? I need to get my exact date. Yeah, I'm an OG now, right?
So I work in tech. I'm an engineer, and it wasn't actually the tech that got me interested in it. It was the economics. So my master's degree is in financial economics, and I've always been a proponent of competing currencies. And this was a perfect experiment where we could see how competing currencies work out in the modern world, like pre-1913 and then pre-First Federal Reserve. Like competing currencies were actually the norm. And it was also a way to kind of put my Austrian political views where my mouth is also. So that's kind of what led me into Bitcoin. It was more the economics and the politics behind it. As far as maximalism goes, I don't consider myself a maximalist, and that's why I let in with competing currencies. Like, I'm more interested in the dynamics of competing currencies versus picking a racehorse and hoping it wins.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that, especially with, competing currencies. I always talk about it from the different use case standpoint, from not everything is in competition with Bitcoin. But at the same time, the competition that lies within just the cryptocurrency sector is extremely important. I mean, if you don't have competition, you don't develop, you don't grow, you just end up stagnant. And then we just end up with Bitcoin forever. Well, I mean, I love Bitcoin, and sure, it can be built upon. But I'm sure at some point in time, there's a point where it becomes Netscape, right? And we have to move on to something bigger and better. So, I mean, I love the idea of supporting something and sticking with something and putting everything you got behind it. But there's something to be said about having an open mind and looking at alternatives, and especially people that, don't just look at the competition and they look beyond it, and they're starting to say things, like, well, Ethereum sucks because Bitcoin and shit like that. I'm like, well, that's apples and oranges, my friend. So, I appreciate you don't have that full on
firearms world.
Mindset. Yeah, me too, man. I'm with you.
Yeah, you see that in the firearms world too.
Mm-hmm.
If you look
100%, man, 100%.
If you look at nuts and bolts, though, they all have an issue or two. I mean, Bitcoin is slow and expensive to transact in. Ethereum doesn't scale very well, right? As far as the top dogs go. Litecoin
What about after
like
ETH 2.0?
Well, after ETH 2.0, okay. So it's kind of like back in the day when we were waiting for Backed to come out, right, in the United States. When's this?
Oh yeah, what's Backed? I forgot.
That went back and forth for, oh my God, at least 10 months to a year, right?
That was a big thing for a while.
And ETH 2.0 is kind of like Justin Sun's next announcement, right? What's it going to be?
I think ETH 2.0 is really just a massive implementation that's almost impossible to do correctly and properly. And so they've just been struggling, and they're not so good at picking dates.
I'll give it that. Right.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. And it's hard because how do you put a date on something?
Right.
Yeah, particularly when like you're an open source project without like an enterprise team of project managers.
And on top of that, you're not just building something that you've built 100 of before. You're inventing something new and trying to revolutionize an already revolutionary technology. So it makes it tricky.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like Ethereum's interesting to me. That is one that I think that was when I first started tweeting about crypto, actually, about 6 to 8 months after the ICO. And then around the last run up, that's when I disowned crypto Twitter and was probably disowned. And I don't know. It's the same. You see that in the same thing with any community where like once you go deep enough into it, you're like, I actually don't like y'all in real life.
Right. It's funny how many actually rage quit. It's like, come on.
Oh yeah. The rage quits on crypto Twitter are epic.
They are. And how many people go and then come back and you look at the select ones that have made it through the bear market and now into this bull run, and have been here the whole time. So I don't know. It's kind of funny, and it reminds you of the little drama, back in high school and stuff like that. Everybody get their little cliques going, and then there's these little fights back and forth and whatever. It's all good. I wouldn't be without it. I'm definitely addicted to Twitter. There's no.
Oh yeah. I'm addicted to it. I'm addicted to it for the memes and the feet pictures. But I mean,
the feet pictures. Cody.
Yeah, you and Cody and Euclid all need to get your account. Don't actually get your accounts together because we don't need the kind of trash that would come out of that.
No. Oh my God.
Don't forget I said that. Let's talk about Morris Young wants to know what we think of XRP. Most everybody knows what we think. I'm kind of like in the middle. Mitch is not so much of a fan. What about you, Alma?
Yes, I stopped following XRP. I think it was 2017. It was like at the spring of the last run up. It's this. Correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a while since I've thought about Ripple. But like, it's super centralized. It's a proof of concept, effectively to reinforce the status quo. It's fast, but like from my understanding of Ripple and why I've kind of disregarded it is like it just seemed like the bank's leg into this world. But
yeah, it really is. I mean, that's my personal opinion on it, is that, I mean, that's actually the real use case for it, is kind of that banker's corporate coin. It's designed for that. That said, I mean, the actual coin itself, the actual token is technically relatively decentralized. The tech is good. It's quick. But you have the company that has so much control of it just because of their holdings. I think that's where the biggest fear comes in, is because of that. I haven't followed Ripple or, as a company, or XRP as a coin very closely in maybe I'd say a year and a half, something like that. I bought my first XRP about the time you stopped thinking about it, and that was 2017, right at the very end. It was actually the first coin that I picked up, and I got it about 90 cents or something like that. It was kind of my first leg into crypto, other than Bitcoin in 2016 when I was mining very, very small amounts of it. But at the time, my opinion of it, maybe 2018 or so, I was still pretty excited about where the potential could be in the future, as far as if their use case plays out. Once they get full distribution and saturation, and the coins are actually out there in the hands of users rather than in the company waiting to be distributed to potential users, I think there's a potential there. And maybe from an investment side, there's something, but I feel like realistically, it's more just a good solution and a good piece of technology, and not such a good investment. So my personal opinion, without having much research done into it in the past year and a half, but that's where I stand on it.
My biggest take on Ripple is that
it's all good. We're all experts here.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, let me tell you all about XRP, and we'll talk about exactly how much it's going to be worth in a year and a half.
This is definitely not financial advice, right?
No, this is financial advice. Buy Bitcoin. You'll be better off for it, even if it's just because you learned something. Just don't spend your life savings on it. You'll be fine.
Well, here's the thing, right?
Advice.
Look at 2018, 2019. Ripple kept having these announcements come out about adoption and all these new things that they were partnering with, or that was going to start using them, and all this stuff, right? And you'd see a 2-3% price swing. And
it's because that doesn't have any effect on value.
Well, that too. But I mean, when you have a corporation that owns the majority of the coins, and they continue to sell those coins over the counter and not so much through the exchanges, you don't see as much price movement.
Right, exactly. Right? Which I think was the design, right? I think that's the point.
Right, exactly. So it's kind of like this steady thing. I don't know. I mean, I think on an optimistic side, I think XRP might see a few bucks, but we'll see what happens. There's those that say 590. What was it? 598?
589.
589. Yeah.
The thing is, 589 doesn't make sense from a financial standpoint at all. But
no.
I mean,
what would its
components
market
are there?
cap be?
Okay, let's see. What is the actual supply? Let's look.
Oh my God! Right.
Hold on.
That would be.
Is it even still at the top so we can see? Let's see. Coin microcap.
Top 3.
XRP. So the supply. Current circulating supply. Well, let's just not even look at total supply. Let's look at circulating supply, just out of
45 billion.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got, if I can type numbers, 45
times 589.
You're looking at 589. Yeah, 26 quadrillion. 25 quadrillion, if I'm looking at that number right. Yeah. A little bit. Yeah. It's just not feasible. It's just kind of a funny number, but I think anybody who's serious into XRP also recognizes that and doesn't really believe that it's going to ever hit 589. But
right.
I don't know. Long story short, I just think it's one of those coins that has potential in a way, but I just think if your mindset is that you want to invest in a fully decentralized project, then don't invest in XRP. If you want to invest in something that's going to be used by corporate America and corporations and banks around the world, then that's probably where you're going to be into. I just don't think you're going to see as crazy of a return as you might expect in the traditional crypto world with some of these entry level projects, just because it's already relatively well developed. It's already seen a lot of growth. But this is crypto. Anything can fucking happen. You're just not going to get, 800 times however much money is in the world is your market cap. It's just not.
God, sometimes I wonder if you're just reading this shit. Where the fuck does all that come from? That's
why it doesn't make any sense. It's coming right out of my head.
Doing this shit once a week is definitely sparked your tune.
The professor go burr.
Yeah, exactly.
Precisely. Oh, that's why I was really hoping that we could get that one lady on that she's bounced back and forth between so many projects, but at the time she was calling for like $10,000 XRP.
Yeah.
We're going to do a joint episode with her and was it Albie?
Yes.
And she bailed out of that because she couldn't handle it. But That would have been an interesting conversation.
Oh,
And
for sure.
when I was in grad school, I had a project in traditional financial markets where I was basically tracking the forecast of most of the bulge bracket bank analysts and tracking them over time. I built a website called Hackwatch on this, just basically to hold people accountable for their forecasts. It was not a following analyst advice is typically a losing bet. My dad was a trader growing up. I did a brief stint as well, but in derivatives market. But it's kind of the thing most people don't understand about bulge bracket banks is analysts. The banks don't trade in analyst recommendations. The analysts are a part of the marketing team. They're part of the sales unit. They're not there trading analyst recommendations.
Exactly. You know, and it's kind of like, you know, you look at cryptocurrency and we talk about trading, we talk about volatility, we talk about speculating, all that stuff. And until it levels out, until crypto reaches a certain point and actually stops being an asset in that regard and starts being the currency that it was designed to be, I think at that point we're going to see a big change in how the use case and how everything actually starts to happen.
That's the interesting problem too, because like people, a lot of folks on on Reddit are like, hold until like you don't think about cashing out into fiat. I'm like, well, what does that look like functionally? Like if everything is denominated in some form of cryptocurrency or some associated token, like does that mean you're rich? Like, or does it just level out to like how much money you would have today is like an inflationary bet? So like if houses start being priced in Bitcoin, for instance, or whatever, and that's mainstream, like that doesn't necessarily mean everyone's rich all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's something we talk about a lot.
It depends on how many Bitcoin you hold, right? At that point, it depends on how much you're holding.
And with the deflation or the inflation of the dollar, like you say, I mean, it's not going to be worth the same eventually. Like maybe Bitcoin goes to $1 million, but is a Pepsi now $50?
Yeah, and
you know?
if Bitcoin's worth $1 million, like something structural is wrong, and there will be counterbalances to that.
Right. You know, like sure. Maybe you got $1 million, but that house that you wanted that was 200,000 is now 4.5 million. So good luck, right? I mean,
exactly.
It's one of those things where the money has to come from somewhere. You can't have all of the money in the world just double. You know, you can't just. I mean, sure you can. You can print all the fucking money you want, but that doesn't create value. So, like you say, I think a lot of the value increase in Bitcoin truly is going to come from the inflation, the massive inflation and decimation in the long term of the dollar. And whether that actually ends up being Bitcoin or the replacement thereof, that's yet to be seen. But it's not going to be the dollar eventually. Yeah, it'll probably be the digital dollar for a while, but who knows how long that'll last.
Out of curiosity, are you a professor in real life?
I am not. That's probably a bad idea. You don't want to let me loose as a professor in a college of any sort. I would be banished immediately and lit on fire.
One of my side jobs, I am a professor, actually.
Nice. Where at?
UT Austin.
Sweet. What do you teach there?
Introduction to Engineering for Non-Engineers in the MBA program.
Oh, nice. I like that. I like that specification because it's important to bring people from outside into new industries, especially engineering and the crypto, any of the sciences, just because there's such a strong need for that, and it's only exponentially accelerating this industry.
Yeah, so we work with a little bit of exchange data and how to work with exchange data. It's more of like, how do you think about data in a nebula? When you have very little context around what this data means, how do you make sense of data?
Right.
So yeah, I did something with, what was it? Basic attention token transaction logs and digging through that information to try and extrapolate some sort of meaning from it. And then we do a lot of survey across different data across different disciplines. So like backtesting like 100 of the most high profile IPOs in the last year and things of that nature.
So let's talk about then, what do you think the most critical application of massive data analysis is going to be going forward with some of the new advances we're seeing?
Within blockchain or just within just
in general? I know this is a very broad question. There's 8 billion ways that data is used, obviously, but there's a lot of specifics. Let's narrow it down to a few things. We've got situations like self-driving cars, and we're analyzing data as far as the world around you, that kind of thing. We have situations like marketing data and purchasing habits and that kind of stuff, which will eventually lend itself to automated restocking of your home items and that kind of thing. So, and maybe that's combined with self-driving cars where automatically your shit's restocked and your car goes out and picks it up for you. I don't know. But just for an example, that's one particular use of data that I'm thinking of, but there's, what are you looking at as far as the future goes?
My background's actually in the consumer segment, so in marketing, particularly within an ad tech realm. So understanding consumer behavior based off of what they do and what data is captured about that consumer, whether that's through a cookie log or through a unique device, things of that nature. It's interesting once you start peeling back the onion and seeing what all, like, what's the cliche that we give up privacy for convenience, and particularly in the display advertising world, and then even within walled gardens like Facebook, for instance, there's a lot of information that we're, as consumers, are just giving up without really giving a second thought into, do I want to give this up? And there's certain companies who are trying to take a different approach to advertising that's less invasive. But like where I stand with this, I deactivated my Facebook over 6-7 years ago at this point. And I don't think there's a lot of literacy amongst consumers about what exactly we are giving up. And to be clear, on the display advertising world, like everything is obfuscated. So your cookie ID, it's not saying that like Citizen Hush is spending 14 hours on Pinterest today. Let's go hit them with a bunch of Lisa Frank sticker ads or something like that. It's a randomized string that's tied back to my browser ID. But you can extrapolate a lot from that and the metadata that we pull from that cookie log. So on the display side, it's particularly invasive. It's even more invasive within walled gardens like Facebook, Twitter, social media, things like that.
Yeah, you get a nice inside look at it too. From the perspective of how are we going to utilize this going forward? And I think data is, like you say, it's one of those things that people don't think about enough. They don't care about their own data enough, even though it's been a huge topic of conversation, even as far as Congress with the Facebook hearings and stuff that got a lot of general national attention on it. And it's still, people don't give a shit. They don't care. They're still buying Oculus devices, even though you're forced to have a Facebook account. I mean, there's so many different things out there where you see people just giving up data for convenience left and right. I mean, I do it. We all do it in certain ways, right? So there's a balance, and you just have to be careful about how you manage that balance and where you give up your data. And you're going to fuck up at some point, and it's one of those things.
Taking it back to cryptocurrency, particularly blockchain, Bitcoin, actually, like in economics as well. So like in economics, you typically have like, what is it? Three, I forget what going back to grad school here, but it's land, labor, and capital are the primary means of production, I believe. In the 21st century, processing power and data are the fourth and fifth means of production here. And it's interesting. I don't know how this is something I thought of months ago, so it's not very pressure tested, but it's interesting because like in the same way that when we moved from a bartering society, that money became the common denominator, so that one goat was equal to, instead of doing one goat's equal to 7 chickens, we have a common denominator of money. Cryptocurrency becomes that common denominator for processing power and data as well. And there's a way where you can quantify that, like proof of work is effectively that. It's quantifying processing power effectively.
Yeah, it really is. Consensus algorithms are a really interesting study in managing a combination of energy and user count, like large user counts, data speed, because you're storing and managing so much data quickly. It's really, honestly, blockchain is an application for a future technology that we just don't have yet as far as infrastructure goes. We're not there yet in processing power to really see the advantages that blockchain provides us. We're just starting to touch the tip of the iceberg with Bitcoin as far as network size goes. I mean, realistically, once we're starting to talk about millions of users, You have millions and potentially billions is a stretch. I mean, there's only 7 billion people in the world, but potentially if this becomes a relatively mainstream thing, you could see millions, 3-digit millions of people on one network, and that provides a massive amount of security but you also then have a whole lot more data and a whole lot of other things that go along with it that you have to scale with. So the scaling is definitely a fun thing to look at, but I think it's going to be pretty interesting.
All right.
5 chickens.
So
J-Mac, you got 5 chickens? J-Mac says he's got 5 chickens.
I got 5 chickens.
Brisket? Oh, hold on. Keeper wants to talk about brisket. Let's talk about brisket for a second before we get into more important stuff.
I've got 3 chickens and my dignity.
3 chickens in your dignity.
Nice.
I've got 5 pounds of brisket. I don't know. I think we need to have. We just had brisket the other day from Dickie's, which I know it doesn't count, but that was pretty good. I don't order much more.
I think someone's bringing up brisket because of the last tweet storm I went on right before coming in here. So I don't know. I don't know how long y'all been following me on Twitter, but recurring joke. A recurring joke here is cooking at the Alamo Trap House, where I do little cooking tutorials of how to cook a proper tomahawk ribeye in the microwave.
Oh, great.
And so I pulled up a 1.25 pound brisket and did a quick cooking tutorial on how I sear it first, or season it with spray paint and gas first, and then do a nice little even sear in the toaster oven, and then before throwing it into a rice cooker filled with almond milk.
Nice.
And yeah, it's fucking delicious. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they're not a Texan.
Wow.
Is that true, or would a real Texan just take the brisket and chew on the bone? Just raw, straight up. Maybe a little salt.
No, we keep this. This is like underground Texan. It's to keep.
Okay. This is the good stuff.
To keep the Californians at bay.
Gotcha. That's tricky.
So last night I made some venison tips with gravy, mushrooms, and taters, right? Mm-hmm. And I shot this deer about 2 weeks ago, and this was the first time I've ever let it hang for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I let this thing hang for 2 weeks. Oh my God. The meat was so tender.
I've heard.
Dang, I'm getting hungry just saying.
It makes a difference. It makes a damn difference.
Oh my gosh, does it ever? I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's the first time I've ever hung one for, or aged it for any kind of length of time. Usually I'm hunting in Kentucky. I quarter it up, I bring it home, I cut it up at home and put it in the freezer, right? So that was kind of cool.
You're in Euclid's neck of the woods, right? Crypto Euclid?
I'm up in Michigan.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Euclid's, I think, in Virginia.
Tennessee.
I got you.
I'm born and raised in Virginia, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I always recognize the terrain whenever he posts his Sasquatch videos.
Yeah, we got that kind of terrain up in the UP, up north mostly. Other than that, down here I'm in lower Michigan, so it's like I'm only an hour above Ohio. So it's like, it's all flat land, mostly a lot of trees, but a lot of farmland, stuff like that. But some pretty big deer.
Yeah. We don't have the same whitetails y'all do in Texas. We've got little baby whitetails. To be honest, I'm going deer hunting for the first time Saturday. Okay. And I've pretty much only done predator hunting. So like coyotes, bobcats, feral hogs. You could consider them predator, or maybe not. I don't know. They get lumped in a lot.
Depends on how much you piss them off.
Feral hogs, that's kind of like shooting skeet, ain't it? I mean, they're just all over the place.
Oh yeah, I'm helping the state of Texas get rid of feral hogs right now at one of their government buildings. They've got they had a sounder of 60. It's now 50.
So this is like a perfect segue into gun territory. Let's talk about guns. I know you're pretty big into guns based on your Twitter, and you do a lot of shooting, do you?
Oh yeah. Before this beer flu thing kicked off, I was going through about 1,000 to 2,000 rounds a month.
Wow.
Got that down to about 800 because I'd need a kidney transplant to keep up at those rates. A little pricey.
Right? Do you load your own?
No, I'm not a reloader. No.
Okay. Cool.
But I came close to that. I got into shooting through the precision long range world, and everyone does it there. But like the thing is like most of the reloaders that I encountered here in Texas were like, they're great people. Like it's a really cool skill to have, but reloaders are some of the most annoying people I've ever met in my life.
You're not kidding. I know.
Like exactly. Like they're the types of people, like you go up to a gun bar and the dude's reloading. He'll keep talking for 45 minutes and you're just like, dude, I was just asking where the bathroom was. Like,
right. Yeah, but you have to know exactly how much powder he put in his most recent load.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
How many grains.
I make fun of reloaders a lot, but it's coming from a place of love.
Yeah. I started collecting equipment. I used to do a lot of gun stuff. I was pretty heavy in the gun industry, and I started trying to collect reloading equipment because I thought I wanted to get into reloading, and I kind of came to the same conclusion. It was just like, I mean, I might save 30% over, for me, it would have been a money thing because I'm not a precision shooter. Mm-hmm. I'm not out there trying to take millimeters off of my groupings and shit like that. So it's, for me, there's not really that much advantage to reloading, especially with the amount of time and space and shit it would have taken up for me. So I ended up not doing that. I kind of wish that I had a stockpile of reloaded ammo, but it gets a little pricey. But I'm just thankful that it's not like it was 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, holy fuck. I can go in. I can walk into Walmart and I can buy a pack of 22, and I'm happy.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Is it happening again?
Yeah, 22.
Oh, man,
22 costs more than 9mm did 8 months ago.
Again? Yeah. See, I remember right after Sandy Hook was, 22 was going for $150 a brick, shit like that at times, and
you're seeing that now. We're gonna be 9 bags of 22 here pretty shortly if you're not already.
Damn. See, I feel like it was just 3 or 4 months ago that I walked into Walmart and got really excited because there was one of those big bucket of 22 rounds, the 700 whatever. Mm-hmm. I was so excited. I was like, 22's back. Fuck, I should have bought it.
You got lucky.
I've got enough 22 to get me by for a while, but
yeah, same. I've been relatively unimpacted by all this, but it's been interesting to watch because of my burn rate of ammo, like I still buy it just so I keep topping off the funnel. I haven't been able to do that too much in the last 8 months because prices are getting stupid. I think 9mm is going for about 60-70 cents a round.
Jesus Christ. That should be like 15. Sorry.
So what's your favorite gun to shoot?
That's a hard question.
you almost said loaded.
Favorite? It's loaded too.
Oh man, yeah. I guess that would be the answer. The ones I keep loaded. I don't know. It just depends. Like if I'm shooting hogs, I have a thermal setup. If I'm doing like run and gun type stuff, I've got couple different setups for that, and then it just depends on the use case, what I feel like doing. But I'm a big fan of I'm not anything special. I've still got the basic bitch AR pistol combo. My ARs are like the upper middle class tier. They're not, some people, they're Gucci to some people, but in the scheme of things, my ARs are like the dentist who did well in the stock market tier.
That's not bad. Hell, hey, if it puts one down range and puts it on target, that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the
ARs
day,
are one of those things. Like, I mean, you get to about $800, in like the low range. As far as I'm talking building here, of course, retail's a different story. But when you get to like that $1,200 to $1,500 mark, you can put together a really goddamn nicely functioning rifle.
Yeah.
Anything over that, you're looking at pretty. I mean, as much as I would love to slap a UAR handguard on and have all the pretties and all that stuff, it's like sometimes you got to turn back a little bit and go back to functional, because I've gone down the road of really pretty, really fancy ARs. I was manufacturing ARs for a long time, and I just got to the point where, for me, a fucking $600 M4A2 is like, it is what it is. A nice, quick, simple, easy, grab the fucking carry handle. It's what it is.
I've beat the shit out of some Palmetto State armories, and
PSA is like, I know it's cheap, but it works. You might have to send shit back 2 or 3 times until you get one that's not broken. But hey, it's not bad. It's not bad.
I've had probably 12, 15 PSAs over the years, and I've never had a problem with them. And like by the same token, like I've got a couple Daniel defenses also that I also like. But at the same time, I realize that most shooters aren't like as autistic as I am, and
I'm very, very picky with some of my equipment. I'll put it that way. Like I had my first my first 6-shooter I ever bought was a Dan Wesson 744 VH.
There you go.
The big, had the vent rib barrel, the big 8-inch motherfucker. But that's the one that you can change the barrels on. And I always dreamed, it was a stainless one. I was so heavy. I always dreamed of having the full pistol pack with all the different barrel sizes and stuff, but I never got around to it. But that one had, and I learned later that this was by design, but there was one chamber in the cylinder that as you would turn it, it would get tight. We're going past that one round, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I learned later that these particular models they use for certain target shooting, and they would actually tighten up the cylinders so that on that last one, they were a little bit tighter. So I don't know, whatever, but it pissed me off. It was so annoying. I sold the fucking gun because of that. So it's just that one little, I'm pulling the hammer back, and it's just like 5% more torque required. And I'm like, no, this isn't right. Nope. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
But revolvers are my thing. I'm a fan of field guns. So I'm pretty picky with that feeling.
Full transparency. I'm actually trash with a revolver.
I'm trash at shooting them, but I love shooting them the most out of anything. I'm trash at shooting everything though, but I can put a bullet in a 2-inch group and take a deer out and put it in my freezer with what I need, and anything else, if I ever have to shoot something, I'm shooting at a target, 100 yards away and hoping for the best. And if I fucking miss, I fucking miss. I'm not shooting for my life. So fingers crossed. I mean, that could change at any moment, but I'm good enough.
Yeah, there you go. That's all you need.
Good enough.
I think the best shooting I ever did was in the Army, with the just a good old M16, tight shot groups. I mean, you could pretty much cover 3 with a quarter. And the pop-ups were probably my favorite. You get different ranges. They come up at 25, 50, 75, 175, 300 meters. And that was always a lot of fun. I really, that was probably the best time shooting I've ever had, for sure.
That's something I've never experienced, unfortunately, a pop-up range. That's on my bucket list.
That was much fun. I'm telling you what, when you're sitting there, you're in just a prone unsupported or prone supported position. Usually you would do 20 targets with prone unsupported and then 20 targets with prone supported with the sandbags. But you didn't know where they were coming up at, right? It was just totally random. And I mean, so you're sitting there scanning the area, you got one that pops up at 300 meters. Well, at 300 meters, a human silhouette is only about 1.5 inches tall.
Yeah.
Right. So you're shooting at something that's really through your sights that looks to be about 1.5 inches by about maybe an inch. And that's about it. And that's what you're shooting at. So, to see those come up is pretty tricky, but I always did really well. I think the best I've had 2 40 for 40s and then a couple of 38 out of 40. So I was I got the expert marksman label. So that was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Good times.
Perfect.
The 45s, we got to do live fires with the 45s, and that was a lot of fun. We did this one thing when we were in California. So we did, we got to go shoot dragons. We got to go shoot the 203s, the grenade launchers.
People on bath salts.
That was really cool. And then we got to actually go in live fire. Like I was mechanized infantry, so I drove a Bradley fighting vehicle. So, that shot the 203s. And then I did a live fire exercise. I was attached to the tankers for a week. And we on the M1 Abrams, and we got to do live fires with that, and that was badass. It was all set up so you had the infantry, and then you had the tanks, you had the Bradley fighting vehicles, you had the artillery behind you, and then you had the A-10s coming through doing live fires, and then the Apaches. Oh my God, dude, to see an Apache come up over the horizon and just lay down on that 50, it's just beautiful. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. God, memories.
Since you're a veteran, I tend to ask this most of my veteran buddies, but what's it like when someone just comes up to you and just goes, thank you for your service? Like what's the proper protocol here?
Well, I mean, as I've gotten older, it's different, right? And it really wasn't until probably my early 40s, late 30s that I actually start hearing that more. But I had somebody say, hey, thank you for your service. And it was Veterans Day. And I was like, oh yeah, right. I mean, it's a shock more than anything, because it's not something that you think about. It's not something that you think you should be patted on the back for. It's just something that we do out of, you call it loyalties to your country, wanting to spend that time and serve your country. A lot of people did it for college education, stuff like that. I kind of went in as both. I wanted to serve my country, but there was that enticement of putting money into the GI Bill and getting some money for college. I would definitely recommend military for just about everybody. I think everybody should do a minimum 3 years in the Army, any of the armed forces. It changes you. It changes you as a person. It changes your outlook on life. It changes your teamwork ethics. It changes your camaraderie and how you view people that are going to have your back in life and people that aren't, so you learn a lot and you grow a lot. I mean, come on, you're 19 years old and you got somebody else's life at the end of your barrel. So, to live through that and to think about that, it's life-changing for sure.
That your response is actually 95% consistent with every response I've ever gotten.
Really?
For the record, thank you for your service, Mitch.
Oh, thanks. No problem, man. I'd do it again tomorrow.
That's actually my biggest. So I grew up 30 minutes north of Carolina in Virginia. Okay. So Norfolk, Virginia is about 40 minutes from where I grew up. World's largest naval base, and like we didn't have a sport. We didn't have a sports team. We had the Norfolk Tides, but they're trash. And so the military were I came close, but I think every 2 to 3 years, I'm like, man, that's like my one regret I have, never enlisting. And then all of my either active duty or veteran buddies like, dude, don't, like, you're in your 30s, you've got a career already. Like, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I got out when I was 20, just turned 20, almost 21. And then I did 10 years National Guard after that. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
crazy.
That's something I've always kicked myself for, not going that route. And for me, it was like, I think it was last time I went through this. It's kind of like a midlife crisis where I'm like, I regret not serving. It's not like I already went to college and like,
sure.
And I think I was talking to one of my other buddies. I was like, I think it's like that, what you talked about, that like brotherhood, and like, I'm close to my family, but I didn't really have a lot of that growing up from like a brotherhood perspective, and went looking for it in the wrong places in the dark armpits of Twitter. What? No.
Good luck with that.
Amen on that.
All right, so we have a really critical question for you here. Have you ever buried any treasure? And if you haven't, would you?
Yes, I have actually.
Nice. So where is it?
Someplace in Suffolk, Virginia. There are 5 holographic Charizard cards buried.
First edition Shadowless?
You got it.
Really?
Yeah, they are buried somewhere.
That's like $5,000 worth of Charizard cards these days.
Yeah, they're buried in a pencil box that I duct tape shut with like an entire roll of duct tape, buried somewhere on the banks of the Nansemond River.
Yeah, they're probably nice and mint condition right now. I'm gonna go searching. That's gonna be like my Forrest Finn treasure now. There's 5. It was my dream card. I finally got one when I was a kid, and then sold it on eBay when I was in high school for like, I don't know, $100. It was
I remember Pokemon cards came out. I was in elementary school when they came out.
Like 5th grade was like they're really big in about 5th grade for me.
Yeah, 5th grade. Yeah, and the holographic Charizard, I remember it being like $40 at the comic book store.
And then Alakazam was like 60, and you just like, I gotta have both of these. And Venusaur was the only one you could afford because it was like 25.
Oh man, I could just afford a plant energy.
Yeah, exactly. I got 25 cents. That was the same thing.
I'm looking at it now. You've got an ungraded Pokemon 1999 Charizard for $275 or best offer on eBay right now.
So that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I didn't get shafted too hard.
You guys got those. I got this.
Quackamoto. Oh, there you go.
Oh, you got that.
I did get it.
Satoshi Quackamoto. Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Hell yeah. Big shout out to CQ and Voltage Goat for these. These things are awesome.
I still got to get mine. They're only what?
Where
like
can I get
$10
this?
or something? $20
on Voltage Goat. Go to
Is it
voltagegoat.com.
All right, I'm gonna go buy one right now.
You also got to check out there while we're plugging Voltage Goat for
Yeah,
not a sponsor,
right.
by the way, but you could be, CQ. Just saying. Their tickers are freaking incredible. We saw them at the
Yeah.
Litecoin Summit, and they just fell in love. So
I
their
actually
stuff's
have
amazing.
one. I have a small one, and it you can push a button and it switches from Bitcoin, Litecoin, and you can program different currencies and stuff in there. So yeah,
Sweet.
it's really cool.
I built a ghetto one with a Raspberry Pi Zero a couple of years ago.
Nice.
I've got it somewhere buried in my desk with a bunch of
Nice.
hex keys and Sharpies. All right, I have added a Flotoshi Quackomoto to my cart. I will check out.
Nice.
Your life is not complete until you have one.
That's right. That's right. Those things they're pretty cool.
So
But,
speaking of sponsors, have you ever used a coin flip ATM?
No,
Boom.
don't those have a pretty high premium? I don't think.
Actually, compared to other ATMs, I mean, crypto ATMs in general, yes, they have a pretty high premium. Coin flip, surprisingly, is actually lower than almost any crypto ATM I've ever seen.
They
have you
are
seen
the
one that was
lowest in
higher
the
than them?
industry. No,
Or lower
Nah.
than them, I mean, yeah.
they are the lowest feed in the interest, 7.9%. So, a lot of them are upwards of 18 to 24. I've seen one, where Bitcoin
Some
was
of them are
at
really
like
insane.
$9,000 and they were asking 15 for it. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, there's a word of like a value to convenience, but it's not 25% and it's not a 30% price spread on top of that. So
Right.
7% I'm happy to pay for being able to, of course, I don't have one in my town yet. I got to work on that. But if I could go 150 miles and I can go buy my Bitcoin. I don't have to go through fucking Coinbase. But
you can't beat the convenience of it. Seriously, if there is one near you, I mean, seriously, you got a digital wallet on your phone. You walk in, you put your phone number in, it sends you a code. You put in which one you want to buy. You hold your address up to the machine. It reads it. You put in your funds. Click end. It sends it. It's there. It's done.
bingo.
Like that, and I don't know. It's plenty. Fortunately, I have three within 10 miles of me.
Yeah, I'm here in Austin. I'm here in Austin, Texas. We have Bitcoin
You definitely
ATMs.
have them
We've got them. I don't know about that particular ATM, but I know we have Bitcoin ATMs in gas stations. We've got them.
Right.
We've got them in a gun shop. This gun shop takes Bitcoin.
Oh, that's cool.
One of the firearms training companies I work with a lot. Their trainers accept Bitcoin. It's pretty cool.
So do you spend it? Do you use it at, like, say, that gun shop? No?
I can count on maybe two hands the amount of times I've bought something with my crypto.
Hey, that's still a lot more than most,
Yeah, it's largely so face to face. We have like a Craigslist for guns in Texas called Texas Gun Trader.
Okay.
There's some folks there that I've sold guns for crypto for face to face, like folks I know and stuff like that. And then
Sure.
Mostly it's been like me buying people crypto and sending it to them just so they have it, because like the hardest part is getting them a hook in, and like
Right.
if you can just be like, yo, I'll send you $50 in Ether right now if you just install this app, like just hang on to it. And that's what I did like back prior to the Ethereum Foundation being announced. Like a bunch of my direct reports at one of my companies, not direct reports, a bunch of the folks I worked with, like I was just like, set up a wallet and I'll send it to you and you could sit on it. And just the fact that they have it sitting there and they know it. And then that's usually what I found to be like the best gateway drug.
Absolutely. They watch it. Hey, wait, I thought he gave me $30.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
$40 in here. What the hell's going on?
Or in some cases they become addicted and then they auction off their dignity on
Right.
bizarre market.
Oh, is that actually a thing still?
I don't know. I remember I explored it for an e-commerce project that I had. I don't think it's around anymore, though.
It didn't look like it was going to survive. It seemed pretty attempt at something.
Have you seen any of the projects that are built on Ethereum, like the UI once you like get it inside of it? So like Gods Unchained is like a card game that's on Ethereum. That is a fucking slick UI. Like I
Some of them
remember
are really nice.
Yeah. like even like compound.finance, like and MakerDAO, like those are like, we are from a UI and UX perspective, we are years ahead of where I thought we would be when I first read the Ethereum white paper.
Yeah, seriously, I felt like we'd still be like carefully copying and pasting private keys and shit like that.
Somebody
the UI is
mentioned
getting really nice. It's getting slick, and UI is really the critical piece of getting new users in. I mean, if the UI sucks, nobody's going to be able to figure it out. Nobody has to know really what the blockchain does as far as the user base is concerned. It's nice, it's valuable. You're going to really want to. It's going to be helpful for you, but you don't have to. Nobody fucking knows how PayPal works, and everybody uses it. So you know what I mean? It's one of those things.
Yeah, or no one, or like in the case of Ethereum, very few people can explain to you how TCP/IP protocol works, but like they know how to use the internet.
Right, exactly. What's TCP/IP?
Yeah, right. What the fuck? Is that like a new toilet paper or something?
Yeah, it's part of what makes the internet work.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
an IT guy.
All right. Yeah, I don't care.
It's part of what
Right?
makes the internet work. I like that.
Yeah.
That's what I should tell fucking everybody. Can you help me with this? I don't really know, but it's part of what makes the internet work. Maybe you could figure it out.
Yeah,
You know, I
That'd make my
suppose if
job
I
so
could
much
work on
easier.
it and fix it, that'd be different. Kind of like my car. You know, I needed to know how a car ran when I was a kid so that I could work on it and fix it throughout my life.
Yeah.
And they
I
just keep
guess that's why I
changing
need to learn
shit.
computers.
All these computers nowadays. Damn it.
Learn cars for the same reason, though.
Right?
Too much shit. I gotta
There
stop
is.
figuring out how to do things.
Too much stuff on them. Okay, so I did a tweet the other day and I did a poll on masks. And actually, no, it wasn't masks. It was vaccines. And the poll was, are you pro-vaccine or are you not? Right? And then explain your answer. It was crazy how many people like jumped onto that poll. I think I got like 380 votes, you know, on it.
Jesus.
And a lot of conversation. It was good conversation. You know, I'm always the diplomat, right? I don't judge anybody by, you know, based on their opinion and stuff, but it was really cool. So when it comes to vaccines, let me ask you, are you where do you stand with the COVID vaccine?
Don't those cause autism? No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Right?
I love to make fun of those people.
I don't know, man.
Those claims have been disputed. Go ahead.
But I heard Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah, right.
As far as, I mean, like when you think about COVID, and I'm not an epidemiologist, and I've actually probably don't even really haven't even been following COVID in the headlines. I actively avoid the news. But just from like a sanity check standpoint, we've spent 80 years trying to find a vaccine for the common cold or the flu. The flu itself is a coronavirus.
Right.
And then like jumping into the deep end on something that we spun together in a couple months, I feel like there may be some unintended consequences to it. From a risk management standpoint, I don't know how good of an idea it is. Me personally, I probably won't get it, but like I also don't think people are wrong for going out and taking it. I think there's I don't think there's enough data to really have a dog in that fight, really. Like,
Yeah, that's
and
a fact.
the other thing is too, though, is governments and vaccinations don't have the best track record.
No, definitely not. I mean, you know, when I was in the Army, I think we had all those vaccines, you know, when we first went in.
Mhm.
You know, that was your inoculation.
Yeah, I've got this.
And then, you know, after that, I think flu shots, I've had maybe 3 flu shots in my entire life. And that was, well, actually, I had one every year when I was in the National Guard because that was kind of a mandatory thing. You had to have it. But beyond that, I haven't had a flu shot in forever. And I don't know that I've ever had the flu per se. But it was just a really good topic. I couldn't believe how much activity was on there. It's crazy.
What
know,
about
trying
you?
Me personally, I won't take it, and it would be a while before I would even consider it. I want to see some long-term results from it. And the biggest thing that scares me is that how often do you see these class action lawsuits flying around about a drug that was brought out 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever the case may be, and it's known to cause liver failure, and it's known to cause, you know, heart attacks, and so all of a sudden there's all these class action lawsuits and the drug's disbarred from the FDA. They don't approve it anymore, blah, 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 whatever. So, there's that to consider too. This was put together in 8 months, and a lot of those things are put together over the course of a lot
Multiple
longer
years,
than that,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot more studying, there's a lot more testing, all of that stuff's involved with those. And even then, you don't know the long-term effect when it comes to years down the road.
Mhm.
So something that was designed in 6 months, 8 months, and is already being put out to the public, that makes me nervous. And I'm just being reasonable, and I'm not really. I have skepticism about a lot of things,
Mhm.
but I also keep an open mind to others' ideas, and I'm kind of like that sponge, right? I don't lean one way or another. I like to kind of weave in and out of information and pick parts that actually make sense. Oh, that's logical. Oh, this is logical, right?
So you're what I'm hearing is you're a sensible person.
Yeah, you got me.
Are there any of those left in the world? I'm not really sure.
I don't know if you were to look on Twitter,
there's a few on there.
Prognosis.
And I've had conversations on Twitter, and I'll go in and it's like, you see all these people, you motherfucker, I can't believe, blah, blah, blah. You're a retard. You're an asshole. You're an idiot, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, let them have an opinion. I'm not going to call you foolish. I'm not going to call you stupid, but I'm going to say, look at it from this perspective and, and have a little bit of critical thinking behind it. That's all, so there's different ways to handle it.
What about
It's
you,
called
Professor?
tact, right?
I'm in the same boat. I mean, I'm very much science oriented. So for me, it's not as big of a concern in that vaccines are kind of there's a few different ways that they make vaccines. So we're not reinventing the entire wheel. We're just reinventing a piece of it.
Yeah.
So it's reasonable to think it can happen faster, especially when you have the entire world shut down. It's not unthinkable that we can allocate a few more resources towards something. That said, certainly it's been rushed, of course, and there's things that you got to think about with that. I think one of those things where the first round, we're probably going to see some issues with it. We're already starting to see some allergies and stuff that weren't detected, but that's natural consequence of any new thing, whether you've rushed it or not. You can't possibly plan for every scenario. You can't perfect it right off the bat. Mitch, you talked about 10 years down the road, maybe it gets, everything changes and it's no longer FDA approved, that kind of stuff. I mean, like with other vaccines and other drugs and other general things that happens to. I mean, technology evolves, and so we discover new things 10 years down the road, and that's why that happens a lot of the times. So from a science standpoint, I think we're relatively safe jumping at it and doing it, but that's again, like you said, that's a risk management thing. What's the risk? What's the reward? Is it worth it? That depends on you. How at risk are you? Are you totally not at risk? Obviously you're not totally not at risk, but are you on the low risk spectrum of the COVID side of things? Or are you really high risk? Maybe you want to take a chance. Maybe you want to get the vaccine. I don't have a problem with it. I'm very pro-vaccine. At the same time, the big concerns about it being rushed out, that's probably the only thing that's really worth being concerned about. And even then, I think we're not too bad, but I'll probably wait for round 2.
So now the second half of that is, what about if they're made mandatory?
That becomes a different issue.
Yeah.
That becomes a very different issue.
It changes the whole
it's not a
perspective
COVID
of
problem. It's not a COVID problem. It's a rights problem.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That said, there's, see, this is one of the things that I'm very.
I mean, we're obviously speculating that there's
a
chance that it's going to come out and that they're going to say you have to have this in order to travel. You have to have this in order to go into the grocery store. You have to your kids have to have this to go into school. That's what I'm saying from a mandatory standpoint.
Yeah, and see, that's something that it's mandatory to go to school. There's vaccines that are mandatory to go to school, right? I mean, there's certain points where having mandatory vaccines be mandatory makes sense in a way. I mean, but at the same time, there's a point where how mandatory is it made? And that's bigger than vaccines. That's a very, very big issue that comes down to, it even goes as far as firearms when you start thinking about it. But it kind of falls in with the mask wearing. It's about how far does the government have the right to go to force you to do things for the good of other people, which there's a certain point where we'd like to expect people to be good people and do the things that they need to do to try to make things work. And okay, maybe we all make a little bit of a sacrifice to try to fight something that's happening that we're all dealing with. But at what point do we say, okay, well, people aren't doing this, so we have to make it mandatory? And is that okay? And it's, I'm very, very against government overreach and that kind of stuff, but it's difficult to define if that would be overreach or not. We're all going through a very controversial situation where we don't really have any facts. I mean, what the fuck do we know? We think we know what we want. It's what we read on Twitter. It's what we saw on the news. Do we really fucking know anything about it?
Right.
So
exactly. That's the problem.
it's hard to make a real decision.
Lack of reliable and believable information that it comes at us from all angles.
And
I could bitch about that for hours.
And then you've got guys like me when all this first broke out. Like I started licking public toilets.
You did not. You did not.
I wanted to contract this. I wanted to get it so that I could just get immunity like that. And I could just go about my life. But here I am finding out that you can get it more than once. And I'm
it's not the traditional logic doesn't always apply. Shit changes, shit evolves. And yeah, like you said, you can get it
on my
again.
tongue now. What the hell?
It's not the same.
For God's sake,
you want to know what the Newark public restrooms taste like? Because I can tell you.
Actually, a little
Please
bit of
define
bleach,
that.
a little bit of Comet. I don't think I've ever tasted Comet, but so
the smell of it, you know what it tastes like, right?
Yep.
Comet has a very specific smell. It's got to taste the way it smells. There's no way it doesn't.
it's got to that powdery grit.
Probably a little bit of burn. Yeah.
So one of the arguments that I've seen come about when it comes to making that mandatory is that, if somebody's concerned about getting it, if somebody's at risk, then they should be the ones then they should get it, right? They should get the vaccine. But if you're vaccinated, why do you need to worry about if the person next to you is vaccinated at that point? So that was kind of an argument that really makes you think, like if Joe's got it, he's got the vaccine, he's had the vaccine, I haven't. So I don't have to worry about contracting it from him. And I would hope having a vaccine, he wouldn't have to worry about contracting it from me. So it's kind of the thought process there, but definitely an interesting topic for sure.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully, I'm getting tired of this movie. I want it to end.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm ready for
2020
intermission,
was
some
way better.
popcorn, maybe a little bit of, something, who knows, but
Intermission. There's no intermission. Sorry.
the intermission between movies.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Haven't you been to
It
a
hasn't
drive-in?
happened. You know what the fuck you're talking about? Have we gotten an intermission in 2020 though? We're not going to get one in 2020 either. Let's be honest.
This ain't
We
Spartacus.
got a long road ahead.
Yeah, right.
As long as you got enough shit paper, you'll be all right.
They're out of it at Sam's Club.
Yeah, they're out of Target too. That's okay. Amazon still had a bunch. We're good.
Damn hoarders. Yeah, $49.95 for a 12-pack. Come on.
Speaking of
It's like one
burying
roll is
treasure.
20. That's what they call it.
Speaking of burying treasure, I've got 72 rolls in Cosmoline in the backyard. I'm ready.
Cosmoline.
I love it.
You going to clean it off before you use it, or are you going to let it ride like with the AKs?
Oh yeah, that'll help from getting raw.
Yeah,
All
you
right,
get that smoke
all right.
coming off the end
So
of the barrel as you.
I gotta throw the old bidet plug in here.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you don't have a bidet to save on the toilet paper, you're really screwed. Let me
You
tell
don't
you
need
what.
a bidet. Just get a water pick and stand close to the
Water.
Can't grab it, hose,
It takes a little longer, but it works.
water pick.
Oh, I mean, like if you've got an adjustable nozzle in the kitchen sink, so you can get on spray.
Yeah,
You're good.
exactly.
You're
Mine
good.
pulls out. We're good. Oh,
You know
no.
how many nasty floors I've had to actually tear out and replace in bathrooms where they've done that? They hooked up a kitchen hose sprayer to the toilet water and to wash with it.
What?
Yeah,
No,
I've had to
no.
replace subfloors and yeah, it's pretty nasty.
Bunch of savages.
Crazy. All that for a clean ass. Come on. You ever hear of wipes?
Don't need those.
Oh,
man.
shit. So we got a funny question for our closing question here.
You want a funny question? You make one up because I'm out of funny questions that
You're
I
out
made
of
up.
funny questions. Okay. Well, we talked about replacing the ear. I wonder if any of the audience has any quick ones on that. But
Okay, when was the last time you peed in the woods?
Saturday.
Actually,
20 minutes. Well, no,
I was
an
only 2
hour
days
ago.
longer than you, so yeah, we're good.
That's an easy one. Yeah, I spend most of my time on like ranches and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
Have you ever had an MRE?
I've had an MRI. I don't know what the difference. Oh, MRE. Okay, got you. Yeah.
Meal
No, but
ready
I've had
to
an
eat.
MRI. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely the same thing.
I have had an MRI, but yes, I have had an MRE.
Oh, okay, cool.
Speaking of your the
Yeah.
bidet commentary, you won't need anything for a couple of days after eating an MRE.
Oh my God, right? It just. Which one did you have?
I had what was it? It was a it was some breakfast one, hash
Oh,
brown.
okay.
I've got a whole bunch of them. One of my buddies is in the army, and he had like a crate of them, and he just gave
Oh.
me a bunch of them.
Right.
He was like a connoisseur though. He was like throwing bags at me, like, "Oh, you got to try this one." He was like giving me the Yelp review and all this shit. Yeah.
Chicken a la king was like everybody was. That thing would be passed around like, who wants chicken a la king? Everybody pass it around. My favorite was the peanut butter and jelly and the crackers. Yeah, that was the best part of the MRE.
Chicken a la king. That is
Yep.
that
Chicken
is
a la king. Actually, the best one, my favorite one was the dried. It was a dried like pork patty. So you would just reconstitute it with hot water, and oh my God, those were the best. When it came to having an MRE out in the field, you're out in the desert, whatever, gets cold at night, hot during the day, got to have some hot food in you.
There you go.
MREs were the way to go.
You guys ever watch Good Mythical Morning on YouTube?
Mm-mm. What's up?
They did an episode. It was one of the first ones I ever saw. There is that they ate like 50-year-old MREs or some shit like that. Yeah.
I have seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Fucking black applesauce.
One last little, and I don't know, I'm not going to call it a plug, but I started a fundraiser on Twitter, raising some funds to help a needy family, and actually see how it grew and be able to possibly help more than just one. If nothing else, buy dinner for a week or something like that, pay a food bill. And I think we've ran across one so far, really. This woman's in pretty bad shape. She's got a pretty bad neurological disorder that they can't figure out. She needs a first floor bathroom put in her house. So thinking about taking some of the funds that we've raised and kicking them that way. And then if anybody else putting it out there, if you know of anybody that is in need and, been affected by COVID, lost their job, money's tight, can't pay the bills, have shut off notices, stuff like that. Let us know. Let me know on Twitter. Definitely like to be able to help somebody have a little bit better of a Christmas this year.
Yeah.
As bad of a year 2020's been.
Do me a favor, tag me in the tweet. I'll send it out, and then I'll make a donation also.
Right on.
Beautiful.
Right on. Appreciate that.
And while we're talking about this, let's just talk really quick. Huge shout out to Daniil Pan for setting up an auction through the Art Gallery Auction House. He's gonna. We actually have a shit ton of art donated already for some really amazing artists, and I got to get my donation in, and we've got a bunch stacked up that are going to do that. So that auction is going to run on the 15th and 16th. So if you're an artist, or if you just have NFTs, if you got anything that you wanted to donate to be auctioned off, Daniil will be running that, and those proceeds will go to this fundraiser as well. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you to everybody who's donated art for that as well.
Absolutely. See, this is why we're a team.
Oh yeah, that was something I wanted to say in the beginning. Y'all are the most organized podcast I've ever been on.
No, we're not, dude. This is the fucking worst, most unorganized podcast. What? You have no idea. Seriously. Most of the time we're about 10 minutes late. I'm still getting my restream links and everything going. And today we go out the door. We're going to get a free wreath that's across town on the side of the road, and then go buy a mattress 45 minutes before the podcast. We almost didn't go to get the wreath. We drive 10, 15 minutes all the way over there, and there's a lady putting it in her car when we get there. That pissed me off. We go buy the mattress. We got home. I got 5 minutes to throw my shit together, put my laptop up, put a chair in the bedroom, and put up this background so I can actually do something. And somehow we managed to start 2 minutes after. So I don't know how it happened. There's no organization. This was fucking pure luck. So thank you, but it's not true.
Y'all sent me like an FAQ around like, here's how to get set up, trying to idiot proof like the audio settings and stuff. And I was like, man, this is not. And then like scheduling.
I forgot about that. I set that up automatic from a long time ago. I guess that was helpful. Was it actually updated? Does it even make sense?
It said it wasn't going to be live and without video. That was the only thing.
Right. Yeah. That was before we started doing live streams and stuff. I forgot that I did that. I need to go update that. And when Calendly schedules it, it sends it out. Shit. See, I was organized a year ago.
We need to update the coin flip logo. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We got a lot of stuff to update. That's for sure. Speaking of coin flip, I didn't get this quite in, but if you haven't checked it out, go to coinflip.tech, check the map, see if there's an ATM near you. If there's not, let us know. Maybe we can get one out there. Otherwise, you can get still on their website, coinflip.tech. You can use their over-the-counter, what do they call it? Whatever. Their over-the-counter tool. You can buy
OTC.
Bitcoin, Litecoin, all sorts of other cryptos.
OTC
right on
desk.
OTC desk. Exactly. So check it
Right
out.
on. Hey, it's flipping easy.
It's flipping easy. Thanks a lot, man, for coming on the show. This was an awesome time. We'll definitely have to do this again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
thanks for
thank you
having
to
me.
our audience for joining us. This was a lot of fun. We hope you guys enjoy these live streams. I know I sure do, and it's pretty exciting. I've followed you for a while, sir, and it was awesome to see your face and actually have a conversation. This was a blast.
Likewise, sir.
Right on. Thank you so much, guys. Till next time, have a good one.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Peace.
And we're out.
Awesome.
Not quite yet. We're still live.
And
This is just
we're
me
not out.
unchecking